Hello everybody that ventured out in the rain today. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Kelly Yates, for those of you who don't know me. And I get to introduce my friend Haylie Pomroy, who's going to be speaking tonight. And I was really working on what I was going to say about how wonderful she is, and just kept coming back to, I just want to share a little bit of what has happened to me. Last July, I had been feeling really achy and really old, and just saying, okay, I guess this is what happens when you get this age and you just start getting really achy, and you've put on weight, and this is just it, and that's okay, but I'd rather feel a little bit better so I can ride my horse every day like everyone else here wants to do also. And so I really committed myself to starting Haylie's Fast Metabolism Diet, this book right here. And it has really changed my life. On the fourth day, when I woke up, I got out of bed and I didn't have any aches. And it was like, I got up out of bed and kind of went, wait a minute, it was noticeably weird. It was noticeably weird. And that has definitely stayed that way. And I didn't know how to cook, but on her plan, you have to cook all your own food. So I learned how to shop at a grocery store, and how to follow a recipe, and how to make food, and how to eat vegetables. And it's been just a life-altering experience. My husband says he has been drafting off of my diet, nutrition plan, and he is amazed. And he's now we eat vegetables usually 3 times a day. We cook every meal at home. When we go out, we say, after we're done, why did we do that? We just paid all this money, and we could have had better food at home, and saved that money to spend on the horse, of course. So Haylie, just to me, is somebody who just inspires and gives you the knowledge that you need to have to make it so that you can be successful. And I just can't say enough. And I know I sound like a big cliche and all that kind of stuff, but it's so, so, so true. And I'm so thrilled that she's here to share this with all of you guys, so that if you can get a fraction of what I've got, I will be so thrilled for you, because it's amazing what I have been able to gain through this. She's taught me how to be a healthy person and live a healthy life, and just get better and better and healthier every day. So a little bit about her. She and I met on the horse trail almost 3.5 years ago on Christmas Day, on the horse trail, when she came to look at our area thinking of moving here. Since then, she bought a home here, a horse property. She's got her horses here. Her whole family's here. Her daughter rides. She's a lifelong equestrian, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful part of our horse community. So I'm very excited. So this is the book I started with. This is her new one, which has a maintenance plan, thankfully, because this one didn't, and I need it now. And in my journey, one of the side effects was I did lose some weight, 27 pounds, and I lost 20 pounds in the first 10 weeks. And my goal was not losing weight, it was getting healthy. So this was truly a side effect of doing this plan, and I just think she's awesome, and I think you'll love it if you decide to try it. Okay, Haylie Pomroy. Too good for me.
Thanks for having me. I have a really large community, both online and kind of from my years in practice. I'm actually in clinical practice. I heard somebody say they were in a nursing program for, goodness, 20, how old am I? I'm really bad with numbers, 26 years. So our community's on here, and I'll tell you why, because we're currently doing a challenge. We do challenges with community. So we have 7,500 people joining us tonight. Hi, everybody. You guys are welcome to say hi. But one of the things that I do when I take a community through a process is that I really feel like they should incorporate health and wellness into their entire life. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born naked with my mother nearby. I think we all have that in common. And I am a lifelong horse person. I've ridden before I could walk. I rode through all my pregnancies, and we're pretty die-hard in the horse community. My first degree actually is in animal and agricultural sciences. I have a degree in soil sciences, a minor in biochemistry, and was accepted into veterinary school at Colorado State University. And then I had to take a medical leave of absence. And so at 19, I hemorrhaged after a routine tonsillectomy, and found out that I have an autoimmune disorder called ITP. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. But it's a particular, what did you say? Oh, sorry.
I said, oh, that's rare.
Yeah. I'd like to be rare at other things. But so although I had definitely grown up with, food and nutrition and health in my life, I, was definitely exposed to it growing up. It really became kind of a crisis intervention that I learned how to take care of myself and how to use food as medicine. And that's when I went into the biochemistry aspect of things, because I wanted to learn how to hack, my own blood chemistry and know what the hematologist knew and, not just survive, but really to thrive. And so I actually started opening integrative healthcare clinics back in the days when it wasn't kind of the trendy thing to do, I'll say. For years, I was really kicking down doors. I decided I moved to Colorado and opened a practice because you could hire doctors there as a layperson, even though I had, training and certifications you can't in the state of California. And so I opened my first integrative healthcare practice there, and I hired a cardiologist, and I opened a chelation clinic, and I hired nurses. And I thought, we're going to really establish a situation where we can get people healthy and definitely using food as medicine. I went on to consult for a lot of different companies in formulation in the equine industry, in the zoo industry. I worked for the Denver Zoo on the Black Rhino Project. I worked for the Nebraska Zoo on a chimpanzee project. I worked for the Division of Wildlife with wasting disease in Colorado. I worked at the Human Nutrition and Food Science Department at Colorado State University on a cardiovascular study. That was a fascinating one for me. I actually got brought into the study because they couldn't keep the baby pigs alive, and so I had kind of a merging degree, is what they had called it at the time, and so that's why I was brought into that study. But anyway, enough about me. I've gone into open, I don't know how many now, because I help a lot of other people open integrative healthcare clinics. I am so grateful that I live in this community because I travel a lot with work. I travel with private clients that are seeking care everywhere from Johns Hopkins to Brigham and Women's Hospital. I just got back from Boston. And then, of course, with public television and our fifth book, just in 5 years. I know, I need to get on my horse. I was looking at him right before I came, and I was like, do I get on you really quick, or ruin the trails? Or so I travel a lot, but I'm super, super fortunate that this is where I get to call home. And like Kelly said, my husband and I were, it was the oddest thing. We decided on Christmas Day to just kind of go tooling around. I was literally in my duck, which my whole community has seen, my duck pajamas and Ugg, slide-on slippers. And we were tooling through the community. We had fallen out of contract in 4 houses in the Burbank Rancho area. All you horse people are probably familiar with there. It was like fate just would not let us live there. We were not familiar with this area at all. We came into the Empty Saddle Club and met 2 people that were amazing and wonderful. And they said, oh, you guys have a bunch of kids. You really should meet this woman named Kelly Yates. And we said, oh, okay. And I wrote it on the back of a card. And my husband and I continued to tool around the neighborhood. And then we didn't know you're not supposed to drive back behind the public arena there on the corner of Narbonne and PV. I know that now, and I don't do it anymore. I promise. It's not me. But that day we did, and I had a hybrid car, and so it's quiet. And we came up, and we were kind of tooling down that road, and we came across a woman riding a horse. And literally this was 15 minutes after someone here at Empty Saddle Club, this is Christmas Day, said that we needed to find a woman named Kelly Yates. So my husband's very good at chatting up people, and he's been at the Sheriff's Department, just retired, 23 and a half years. We count the half. And we started talking to her, and what do you think about this neighborhood? And he said, yeah, we were told we should talk to some woman named Kelly Yates. And she says, I'm Kelly Yates. True story, the strangest thing. And then she said, I have a friend, and started talking about her. She said, I have a friend that would maybe ultimately be willing to consider selling her property. And we bought June's property and are so fortunate to have live in that house. It was we walked out the back trail, and I saw that. I don't know if you guys have walked down our trail and seen that ginormous avocado tree. I told my husband, I said, get me the house. And he said, you haven't even seen the house. I go, I don't care. It was the avocados. And then, of course, we got to meet June, and we were able to make that happen. So, again, for my own life, I'll tell you how I got to being here today. I got into I will call it the natural health industry or integrative health industry out of my own health issues. And then I went on and opened integrative clinics and practices, and I have, practices here. I'm actually just moved all of my clinics, merged them into one in the Torrance area, which I'm thrilled to do. Yeah, it's great. And then I travel again, with private clients. And so we have to be usually close to a couple airports because of the nature of our practice. And this was just a great all-around situation. So my philosophy is food is medicine. Dr. Oz coined it, and it's kind of stuck, and we joke about it a lot because I do a show often. He calls me the metabolism whisperer. I like and it's stuck because I really believe that the National Institute of Health has stated that diabetes is a disorder of the metabolism. They're now talking about autoimmune disorders being a disorder of the metabolism. Definitely, MS, cardiovascular disease, all are related with metabolic pathways that aren't working efficiently or optimal or the way our bodies are designed to. So I'm a big proponent for food as medicine. For me, the word diet means did I eat today? So diet, D-I-E-T, is did I eat today? And individuals that come in to my practice or to our community are coming for food solutions and food prescriptions and to achieve whatever they can dream to achieve through their bodies. I always say dream big. I was on 60 milligrams of prednisone. Those of you that know what anti-rejection drugs like Imurin, Cellcept, Neprin, I was on, you name it. I went through the cycle of that, and at 22 was able to no longer need those and haven't since. And I carry a pretty good platelet count on a real regular basis. So I'll tell you a little bit about food philosophies. We have, again, this ginormous community. We have 5 books. The Fast Metabolism Diet was the first one that came out publicly. It was on the, I'm a raging dyslexic. I don't know if you guys know that about me. What that means is that I can't read my own books. So I do everything auditory. And so when I had a client that said, you've got to write a book, I said, I've read one book in my life visually. That was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Anybody familiar with that one? I tried Tale of the Fifth Grade, nothing. Didn't work. When I set for my first graduate level degree, I was 3rd grade, 5th month. When I set for my second graduate level degree at George Washington that I'm working on right now, and Master's in Public Health, I was still 3rd grade, 2nd month. So I was fortunately one of those kids that got to have an IEP and a 504 in college and learned to accommodate, not remediate, and have 5 New York Times bestselling books. So don't let it inhibit you from doing anything ever, in my opinion. So in our community, my whole thing is be in awe and be curious of your body. Every time you maybe feel a stumbling block or a stress or a struggle, it's just your body communicating with you that it needs something. And again, metabolic pathway is micronutrient dependent, and we get micronutrients from 2 places. I'll let you guys guess. Where do we get nutrients from? Food and sunlight. Yeah. We do get water. We get hydrogen and oxygen. Yes, absolutely, and sometimes minerals from our water. Absolutely. So we would count that too. I'm gonna have to change my whole spiel. But basically, they say you are what you eat. You really are what you consume, what you digest, what you absorb, and ultimately what you metabolize, right? So I'll talk about the books for a second and kind of show those to you if I can find them. The first book was FMD, Fast Metabolism Diet. We have an app with this. In our community, we've logged over 2.5 million pounds of weight loss together. But more importantly, we've gained so much health together. We go through a Dear Dr. Sanders letter as our community, which is how to write a letter to your doctor before you walk into the office. We have a request for care, food prescription book, takes you through what labs to ask for, why, what food, specifically if you have issues like cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension. Definitely there's a whole chapter on autoimmunity, as you can imagine, food allergies, hormones, mood, cognition, memory and cognition. And as a community, we do everything from lemon challenge tests to digestive reserve testing together. Things just so that we can be, again, curious and in awe. And then, of course, we cook together, as Kelly said. We have prepared award-winning, can't believe how many chili cook-offs you guys have put this in. Chili over, just again, our app community, which is a very small community. We've cooked chili 750,000 times together. And so I believe that pleasure stimulates the metabolism, and that when you fall in love with food and all that it can do for your body, that it has more power to do even more for your body. And so the next book was the cookbook, and then we had The Burn. The Burn is a great book. It's an interesting book. It's got 3 micro plans, one for inflammation, one for digestion, and one for hormones. That book, I love that book. It came out of necessity because I do a lot of, we live in LA, right? We have a lot of celebrity-based clients and a lot of NFL and professional athletes in our client base. And a couple of them were, touting some of the programs that they did to get like red carpet ready and things like that. So that's a really fun book. It actually has a huge medicinal and therapeutic aspect to it too, but it's, like I said, a 3, a 5, and a 10-day program. And then Food RX, which this one is, talks a lot about more the medical aspect of things, more, food, health, those types of things. This is holistic whole body, and this, oops, that was weird. That's bizarre, sorry, I didn't realize that was, sorry guys, you had to look at me. But this is our latest book, which is Metabolism Revolution. We currently have a public television special that's out right now called Metabolism Revolution, and Kelly's Kitchen was in it, and our golf course was in it, and our backyard and our neighbor's chickens, and it was really an amazing thing to film. We brought 10 individuals from around the country that we had never met before into my kitchen on 25 Sorrel Lane. And we talked a lot about their relationships with food, their journey with food, their struggles with food, their health struggles, and then we followed them for 10 weeks. And it was amazing. We had one gentleman's a physician, was a physician in Puerto Rico, and his last 60, I don't know, I'm not good with numbers. One was at NFL for 16 years, and he had really hit a health crisis, was over 350 pounds, and he's lost 100 and sorry, I don't count numbers, I don't count calories, I do not believe in calories, I'm a scientist. I said that out loud. I do not believe in calories because I am a scientist. Calories are a lie, people. It is not what you consume, it's what you metabolize. If calorie concept was true, we could all eat 1,200 calories and all weigh our ideal body weights. It doesn't happen. It's not even really a calorie, it's a kilocalorie. You learn that in science, right? I don't know how the diet industry got away with that one for so long. But anyway, so I want to make myself available to our community and answer any questions that you guys have. I feel like it's kind of enough about me, and if anybody wants to ask questions, I teach a lot of different lectures. I teach one that's outrageously healthy. I teach combating professional fatigue and stress. I lecture at Long Beach Convention Center, Anaheim Convention Center. We just did a huge event in Vegas. And so a lot of times I give people homework and we go through things like that, but I just kind of wanted to make myself available like I do with our online community, with the community that I live in and cherish. So does anybody want to ask me any questions? Yeah.
I have a question about inflammation.
Yes.
Isn't inflammation a natural response by the body for beneficial reasons?
Absolutely.
But so many of these articles and nutritionists say, inflammation is terrible, it's a big, it's the devil incarnate, and you have to eat everything to avoid inflammation. All these foods cause inflammation in the body.
Right. So inflammation is a process, and it has a combination, it's a very significant hormone process. A lot of prostaglandin, I know we talk about this a lot in the equine industry. I loved being in the animal industry for years because, first of all, there was and this was in the olden days when I was riding my wagon wheel coach into college, right? We were talking about PSE, pale, soft, and exudative pork. There was the pork industry lost $8 billion in the industry because of a nutrient deficient. It was bismuth, which we find in Pepto-Bismol, and stress hormones. There was this whole genetic thing that was going on, and it was nutrient dependent. I was like, that's so cool. The solution was nutrient dependent. I thought it was fascinating. So from an inflammation perspective, we're looking at prostaglandins, prostaglandin 1, 2, and 3, pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory hormones, right? Inflammation is a lifesaver, just like clotting is a lifesaver. It's when our bodies come out of homeostasis that it can wreak havoc. So just like our body produces cancer cells all the time, in order to actually deal with toxins, in order to actually shut off growth mechanism and turn on growth mechanisms in our cells, It's when it goes out of balance that it can create disease or dis-ease. And so inflammation is definitely linked to a lot of, cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular became fascinating to me years ago because I brought up this top cardiologist in my practice, and that's all I ever want to talk about. And, we were looking at C-reactive proteins, homocysteine, which you guys make sure you ask in your labs now. Again, back in the olden days, it cost about $2,400 to have those labs run a true cardiovascular panel. They run about $20-25, even if you're paying cash now. But CRP is a specific protein that's given off when the inflammation prematurely creates what they call apoptosis, or breaks down the cells prematurely. That's advanced aging, that's disease. So inflammation plays a huge role in blood sugar metabolism. I wish I had I'd give you like a soup. Anybody, raise your hand if you do not want a science conversation. Okay, and we just want to talk about making chili. Okay, I'm game. I'll go down with that. I will totally do that if you want. All right, I'm just going to talk about, we talked about where do we get our micronutrients, right? I want to talk about what we do with our fat, cholesterol specifically, that demon of a molecule that everybody's afraid of. It is a godsend gold mine when you metabolize it. We manufacture estrogen from cholesterol, progesterone, testosterone, vitamin D, mineral corticoids, glucocorticoids, 6 things from our cholesterol. It goes through a pathway, cytochrome P450, in the phase 2 of liver detoxification, where the body takes the cholesterol molecule and it turns it into what's called pregnenolone. It's a hormone, master hormone, right? So again, cholesterol makes master hormone. We make 6 things out of that. We all have heard of estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, so I'm going to put those away for a second. Most of us have heard of vitamin D. Although when we have a vitamin D deficiency, ladies, we all go, oh no, we better take vitamin D. Danger, Will Rogers, that means your hormone homeostasis, your natural steroids, so we're going to talk about inflammation, are out of balance. Those are 5 steroids and a sterol. Vitamin D is a sterol. So when you're low in vitamin D, you make sure you have all your other hormones tested. So we're going to put vitamin D away just for a second. You can supplement with it, you still get phenomenal health benefits. I'm a huge advocate for vitamin D supplementation when I know why I'm low in vitamin D. We live in Southern California. We have no business being low in vitamin D. But when we go through hormone changes, we start to pool cholesterol, because remember, we make vitamin D from cholesterol. So if we're not making vitamin D, we pool cholesterol. So suddenly you have high triglycerides, high cholesterol, storing fat, and gosh darn it, you're low in vitamin D. Well, you must need to supplement. But how about you just burn your cholesterol instead? You already have it. You shouldn't have to buy it, right? It's my opinion anyway. So we put vitamin D away, we put our sex hormones away. We've got 2 left, glucocorticoids and mineral corticoids, okay? Glucocorticoids regulate inflammation, pro- and anti-inflammatory hormones. They regulate blood sugar, insulin regulation. Mineral corticoids regulate, so think diabetes, but also think allergies, also think autoimmunity. So all of that, again, is metabolized through the liver from the cholesterol molecule. Mineral corticoids regulate sodium, potassium. Think blood pressure, right? But also think nutrients traveling in and out of the cell. So whether you utilize your nutrients. So we call them a feed through in the horse industry, in the animal industry. You feed and you feed and you feed, and they've got poor coat, poor hoof. Look around, not in this group, of course, but look around in the world. There are individuals that you feed and feed and feed, and they have poor coat and poor hoof and poor teeth, right? Unfortunately, we separate ourselves sometimes from animals. What do we do when the coat looks bad? We feed something else, right? What do we do when a human being looks bad? We color our hair, criticize ourselves, and tell us to go work harder and eat less. If we treated our dogs like we treat ourselves, I promise I would turn you into the Humane Society. We leave and we don't eat all day, and we expect so much of ourselves, and our dogs just have to, lick themselves while we're gone, right? So back to that, it's creating that homeostasis, always creating that homeostasis. When I put together the books, the fast metabolism diet works a lot on that cytochrome P450. This is why, we have so many people, if you check out our community, hi community, sorry, give them all thumbs up, you'll see so many people say my cholesterol stabilized. It was weird, it was crazy, I came off statin drugs, my blood pressure stabilized. We have a lot of different doctors that give out these books. We've sold over 1 million copies of this one alone, and I swear it's because, I mean, books are hard to sell nowadays, it's a little different, you can find everything online. But it's because so many doctors give it out because it's a practical kind of handbook, you know, it's got a specific program. But the biggest thing for me is the change that it makes in the chemistry. No matter what you do, your food plan. I am not, I'm the worst at selling books, I can tell you that. I'm always like, what? But you should be able to manipulate your chemistry because, again, all of your chemistry is micronutrient dependent.
I have
Yes?
a question. Well, I have a statement and a question. I have been on your diet.
Mhm.
I do need a maintenance plan.
Mhm.
I'm one of those that's really messed up as far as, you know, I have autoimmune and I have arthritis and age and hormone problems. And my C-reactive protein went down for the first time in probably 5 years,
Mhm.
which was, I was surprised. Okay, I was really surprised. So I'm feeling better.
Good.
I'm gonna age myself here, but as far as nutrition, the beginning of what I saw as nutrition was that pyramid.
Mhm.
Okay, and
It's
then
been-
they said the pyramid's no good. Too much food, too much fat, too much grains, too much. It should be turned upside down. Then they said it should be a square like Schwarzbein,
Yes.
where it should be like 4 things. So fats, grains, proteins, you know, fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Okay, so, what would you describe visually
Yes.
as what your program is?
So the biggest thing for me, and the question basically is, you know, what do I subscribe to from a nutritional philosophy? When people say they subscribe to something, my first question is, who are they talking about? My subscription to nutritional philosophy is first and foremost, you put you first and foremost in the equation, right? I believe in the equation. I talk about E plus M equals H. Eating plus the metabolism equals health. Exercise plus me equals health. Enriching, you know, your body through riding your horse. Plus, you know, anything, we have this whole long list on that equation, equals homeostasis, right? So it's really about putting you front and center. So that's why we do so much self-discovery and self-exploration. One of the first things that we do in our community is we have a health wish list. And that is, you know, what is it that you want for your health? And usually with my clients, we get the first round, and then I shove the paper back across, and I go, come on, you can do better than that. Because, you know, for you to say your C-reactive protein came down, I went, yeah, or I have really high standards because I'm in clinical practice, right? I go, yeah, or why would you come see me? You know what I'm saying? And so I try to treat, and I do think that's one of the reasons why it's done so well is because everything was audioed. It wasn't written, right? So a lot of people say, oh, my book sounds so conversational. It sounds like you're talking to me. And I go, yeah, because I was. So in general, I don't believe in intermittent fasting. I've been on many TV shows with many of individuals that I'll bring it on from a science perspective, no problem. I believe that you turn towards food. I think you should eat, 3 meals, 2 snacks, maybe more, depending on how long you're up during the day. I have a couple philosophies. Don't fast before going fast, meaning do not eat before you exercise, because I promise you do eat. We did a study where there's many studies, but it was fun to participate in one, where we took the blood sugar levels of an individual pre-workout and post-workout without consuming any food, and their blood sugar levels were elevated. Why? Because we store glycogen in our muscle and in our liver. So you ate. You had a bicep sandwich and a little bit of liver and onions. No onions. Hold the onions, right? So and again, it depends on specifically what, I'm definitely Whole Foods. If it says the word enriched, you've been ripped off. Because having a degree in agricultural sciences, the word enriched means that if they did not add bioflavin, it legally could not be sold in the United States as a food product. So they enriched it for you so they could sell you cardboard. So I'm a big one, turn that around if it says enriched. I say if it's fake, take a break. Meaning it's not meant, again, to be sold in the United States as food. Tartarazine, yellow number 5, the tartarazine was made for the hull of ships. It's hard to find packaged foods without it in it. And again, thank God our bodies are so incredible that it can process, sucking on tailpipes all day long, right? Living in LA, and if you eat, breathe, drink, or sleep, you're processing hundreds of thousands of toxins every day. It's really hard to have that in a food source for your body and expect your body to not have a hard time, at least. It doesn't mean everybody has to go into a state of disease. Let's not do that. But it does mean that you've put more pressure on your body. I'm trying to think from another food philosophy. My grandma told me, and then I went to school and learned a few things, and I believe you should eat within 30 minutes of waking. We did an adrenal cortisol study, and it showed, there's many cortisol studies and how the autonomic nervous system comes into the wake, why we as adults are not going number 2 while we sleep, right? Anybody ever ponder that stuff? Okay, I do. We do that because our sympathetic nervous system slows down and our parasympathetic nervous system elevates, and thank goodness it does, because our sympathetic nervous system creates peristalsis, which makes the bowels move, right? We still are eating and digesting, so why are we not going to the bathroom while we sleep? Think about that. I wonder. It's been an adventure. So the other thing I wonder is, I think it's fascinating that we lose the majority of our weight while we sleep. I mean, isn't that kind of cool? I wonder when you're laying in bed if it floats off, where it goes. You know what I mean? I just have these visions and the deeper you sleep and the more REM sleep you get, the more weight you lose when you sleep. Try it. Weigh yourself before you go to bed and weigh yourself when you wake up in the morning. I don't know anybody that's treadmilling it, right, while they sleep. The other thing that's fascinating is the individuals that are in fat cell proliferation, definitely with the diabetic, and they fast before they go to bed, like that lovely new trend, which just breaks my heart. Just try testing their blood sugar when they wake up in the morning. It'll be higher than it is when they go to bed. Again, they had a bicep sandwich, a little liver pate, right while they slept. And those are sacred, right? Your liver's kind of important, and so is your muscle. Any other questions, or?
All right, what's not allowed?
What's not allowed? There is not a bad
Can you
food.
drink alcohol? Can you have meat? Can you
Yeah.
have eggs? Can you have cheese?
Yeah.
Are there any absolute no-nos?
So it depends.
Haagen-Dazs.
It depends on what your goal is, right?
Those cupcakes are a no-no.
Yeah. Well, the
Twitch
color,
a little.
the color in them's making me twitch, but other than that. So what's not allowed? So again, it depends on what you're doing. So if you have, when individuals come in or they're subscribing to a particular program and we feel like they're in metabolic dysfunction, so their inflammation is out of control, they have arthritis, their autoimmune is out of control, their cholesterol metabolism is deficient, their triglycerides are pooling because the fat cells have become buoyant. Our adipocytes or fat cells hold triglyceride within them. When they're stretched, they produce sex hormone inhibiting, almost like gum, globulins, I'll just call it that for right now. When they're flat, they produce metabolism stimulating hormones. So if that's the case, there are some metabolic disruptors that we say table for a little bit. Coffee's one of my first ones. Doesn't mean you can't do coffee and can't do the fast metabolism diet. It just means that one of the things I first try to do is kind of soothe the adrenals. And we all know there's a reason why we like coffee is because it's a stimulant, right? And so I first try to see where the baseline is in the body. The other is we typically avoid dairy and wheat during metabolism repair. The reason is because both of those contain what's called a glycoprotein, okay? They're the only two nutrients or foods that, there's the whole wheat and gluten and gliadine sensitivity piece that a lot of people have sensitivity because we've hybridized it. And we've done it from an agriculture, seed, and soil science hat. I'm going to put that on right now. We did that to make it more resistant to bugs. How do you think we digest carbohydrates? With bugs, right. We have bugs, lots of lovely bugs, and especially in carbohydrates. We have a lot of enzymes that are secreted through the pancreas, through the liver, that help with but carbohydrates specifically, bugs. So we've got, yes, there's some autoimmunity or what hormone? Our glucocorticoids get disrupted with gluten-based products. But also, both of those having a glycoprotein, that combination, it really mimics how the body carries nutrients. I had this little boy, he's like a genius. They came to me for fertility, so I kind of consider him mine. But we talk science every time they come to the office. And he came in the other day and he says, guess what I am, Haylie, guess what I am? I said, what are you? And he says, I'm a red blood cell. And I'm carrying nutrients in your door, you know. So you will never forget that, right? So the mechanisms for which we carry nutrients from our food into, you know, either to be created into a hormone, a substance, a structure, coat, hoof, right? It's really mimicked. And so I kind of like to take that out of the equation while we try to flood or elevate the playing field from a micronutrient perspective. Refined sugar. You know, I remember being a autoimmune hack on my own. I was researching studies, and I remember it was back in '97 when Stanford University was doing a huge study on T-cell production with HIV. And 1 teaspoon of refined sugar cut the T-cell count by 50% for a 2-hour period. Plus, it's not vegan, no matter what they tell you. There is bone chard and pig blood in it. So, and I'm not vegan, but I love it myself. A lot of vegans. But you can do meat if it's right for your body. You can do vegan if it's right for your body. I'm not a big proponent of soy. Again, I'll put my soil sciences hat on. It's been hybridized like crazy. Long before we talk about genetically modified, we've got to realize in soil sciences we've done, since my ancestors were on the reservation, we've done hybridization of crops for years. You know, I worked in a genetic project when I was in North Carolina, and we talked about a lot of Darwin, you know, survival of the fittest, and that's been in soil sciences for a long, long time. So everything's negotiable in my book. I say the closer you can get to picking it yourself or patting the farmer on the back, the higher the micronutrients are. You know, factory farming killed the farmer, literally, physiologically, as well as economically, right? So it should come from the land, the earth. This is the land and the earth, sorry, the sky, the sea. It should be food. That's kind of my rule of thumb. There's no bad food. And then I use strategic foods to evoke certain things. So people are like, well, why can't I have peaches and not nectarines on this one? I say, haha, because we're trying to get your C-reactive protein down, and there's a particular phytonutrients in nectarines that's not found in peaches, and it's not going to help me, so it's going to be tabled just for a second. But on Metabolism Revolution, there's nectarines. You know, so I'm kind of a science geek, in case you haven't noticed. Oh, sorry. That is mine. You can turn it off. So it's all game. Just depends on what you want. I write blog posts on what do you do when a margarita falls into your mouth. I have a blog post called that. Because you want to have did I eat today? Because someone asked me, I'm going out, what's the best dessert ever? And I said, cheesecake. And they said, what? I said, because you have a blood sugar issue, and at least I'm going to get some fat in you to slow the rate of sugar delivery. You know, and they went, awesome. That's why I've been in business so long. No, I'm just kidding. But in general, when I'm healing the metabolism, dairy's out. So, any other questions? Right now.
I was listening to the news the other day, and there was they were talking to an author, and I heard him say, I like to believe food is medicine. And I thought, oh, that sounds just like Haylie. And so I looked at it, and it was a guy named, I think it was Mark Hyman. And one of the things that he said that really bothered me was that oatmeal was bad. You should have oatmeal in the morning. And I thought, but I love my oatmeal. So why would he say that?
Because he hasn't met you yet, right? I know Mark really well. Hi, Mark, if you're out there. Mark has picked me up here in LA and flown me to his practice in Lenox to consult on difficult cases. And Mark's a great doctor. I think sometimes, like, I refuse to go out of my clinical setting. I refuse to, like, speak to the masses. I mean, I'm definitely the renegade in that group, right? We were all, I can't tell that story because these guys are watching. I won't tell that story. I'll tell that story after I, hold on, let me back up just a second. Let me get my foot-shaped mouth back in line. So you know, there's a whole lot of things about grains, especially in, you know, how we metabolize grains, and it just is specific for your body. I mean, I have clients that flourish on oatmeal, and I have clients that don't do well on oatmeal. I had a kid that was on so many Prilosec, Prevacid, you know, upper GI scoping, and we did this, you know, kind of food identification program that I take people through, and it was literally broccoli and apples were the highest reactor. Then I sent them off for labs, and their IgE was elevated, their IgG to apples and broccoli was through the roof. So, like, well, am I going to go around and write a book saying broccoli and apples? Apples, and my dyslexia shines through. Apples and broccoli are bad? No. So, but you know, it's kind of what's in fashion right now, and so you'll see that happen a lot. And so, you know, if someone wants to say something's bad, I always go, that's interesting. There's so many ways that you can determine what's right for you. I mean, that's what we do. Like even that simple lemon challenge test we do in our community. You take your pH of your saliva. They're nitrazine papers. Don't put them in your mouth. You can go get them at CVS, Walgreens. You spit on a litmus paper. You take some lemon. You spit on a litmus paper, and you do it every 30 seconds to see how much digestive reserve you have or how quickly you stabilize your pH. I mean, that's like an old time trick that you can do to see. And then I've got a whole list of like, if it's, like we just did it as a community, if it's alkaline and it stays alkaline for a long time, which part from the belly button up do you want to support digestively or the belly button down? You know, there's kind of fun things that you can do. There's the adrenal scratch test, I don't know if you guys have ever done that. There's the adrenal reflex test where you lay down and take your blood pressure, and then you stand up and take your blood pressure, and you take the variation. There's lots of ways you can learn about your body. And it's rare for me to say anything's bad, except for fasting before you go fast. Whipping a horse that's not going across the finish line in first, second, third place anyway, right? And I believe that's coffee when you're struggling. You know, whipping the adrenal glands when you're struggling. Have coffee when you have tons of energy. Then I go, well, more power to you. Don't have coffee when you're tired. It's just mean. That's my opinion. There's lots of ways to support the adrenals. Yes?
So obviously you would prefer an individualized approach,
Yeah.
but if somebody wanted to buy your book, which book would you have them buy? This doesn't sell books.
Yeah, no,
That's gonna have something for everybody. I
You
mean,
know,
clearly you'd rather
yeah,
have a book,
yeah.
you can't write a book for each one of us.
yeah,
But
no. So I think, like, now that all 5 are out, I think if it were me, and if I felt like I was a super savvy at cooking, I would probably start with FMD. If I felt like this one, okay, so this one has a 14-day plan, but you can do it 3 times. I mean, you can do it as many times as you want, but I'm a big confuse it to lose it. So it depends. If we're looking for weight loss, if we're looking for cholesterol metabolism, right, we'll do, like right now our community's finishing up 14 days of this. We're gonna do 3 cycles, and then I'm hosting a week of this. And so these 2, if you're wanting like food science information and you're wanting to know what labs to run for what, but honestly I have like a lot of that on my website that you can have access to. And if any of you guys, Kelly, are you in our member community? Yeah, we host like Wellness Wednesdays, we do all kinds of things there, but all of the printouts and stuff are in there too. So it'd probably be between these 2. And how would I determine? This is a great question. Which one would I start with? Now that both books are out and someone was new to this concept of using food as medicine, I would probably start with Metabolism Revolution first. So this book goes like this though. This book is 2 parts. It's 14-day intervention. We calculate your ideal body weight. I do not believe in the BMI. We do a metabolic intervention score. So we take what your current weight is, what your current ideal weight is, what your current weight is, and we rank your metabolic dysfunction also. So there's a whole series of questions with that. Then it's got a super easy to follow 14-day. Again, you can do it for 3 times. And then the fast metabolism diet is what they call it 2-2-3. So 2 days. 2 days you eat to support the adrenals. So there's a lot of complex carbs, lots of oatmeal, lots of fruit, mangoes, pineapple, watermelon, And then 2 days, you eat, that's a little more to entice some of the liver enzymes. So we do lean proteins, a lot of alkaline vegetables. And then 3 days, we focus a lot on the hormones. So we do a lot of healthy fats, avocado, raw nuts and seeds. So this is a 2-2-3, so it's a little more complicated because you eat 2 days one way, 2 days another way, and 3 days another way. But you do 4 cycles, so I always say, freeze it, right? So like make the chili, make the coconut curry chicken, freeze it up for your next cycle. This is either, depending on your body, because we do the calculations first, a 3-4 split or a 4-3 split, meaning you eat one way for 4 days, and you eat another way for 3 days, or one way for 3 days and another way for 4 days. The food list is much more stripped down in this one. People are so like savvy in this one. I mean, it's like almost like a, people are whipping up stuff and, so it's kind of hard. I love these. This is like my favorite from a food science perspective. The other thing that I love about this book is, so again, I think it depends on kind of what you want, but if I were going to say like, okay, I want to kickstart and I just want to dive in, I'd probably start with MR, this one. This one, the things that I love in it is, so again, like I've been in clinical practice for, I don't know, 20 whatever years, right? We literally, like everybody brings their books, like they come in their office and they've got their books and we open them and we highlight pages and we move things around. So as Kelly can tell you, these are workbooks. These are not concepts or theories or, food is medicine. It's how to use food as medicine, right? So it's a little bit different, I think. But I did this one because I felt like people, so this is the newest one, I felt like people needed an intervention, right? So that's the first half of that book. And then a for life plan, which is the second half of the book. If that helps. Yeah.
I'm in week 3 of
Ooh,
fast metabolism.
not too dog. So what's today? Today's
Well, I did as you recommended and started on Monday.
good girl. So you're on phase 3.
I will be
Tomorrow.
in the morning.
Yeah. What are you gonna have?
I'm going to have my oatmeal with berries and almonds.
Yeah. One of my favorite in that phase is I do the oatmeal and I freeze them up. And I love the black cherries and the pecans, and I put cinnamon, and it's so good. But then I'm also a big avocado, because we have an avocado tree, that is pregnant all the time. And so I'm a big avocado toast with eggs and a little bit of tomato.
Well, chili avocado is really good too.
So yes, to your question, while we were salivating over food, sorry.
Well, first of all, I have to let you know that I love the idea of cooking these. Part of the reason I did this was to get out of my food rut
Right.
of cooking a pot of food for somebody who lives alone, and then, on the 4th day of it, you're
Yes.
like throwing away all this food. And so having to change up what you're eating every 2
Yes.
days really keeps you interested.
Yes.
And it means that once you've done this task that looks like, oh God, I've got to do a lot of cooking, you realize you have food for 3 weeks.
Right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
it becomes quite
I
easy.
because I go into, and some of my clients will staff chefs, right? But I can go into a house and I can knock out 4 weeks of food, freeze it, write on it, get it all stacked and organized. I use the Ziploc bags and I stack them in shoe boxes, and Kelly knows I make soups all the time, and yeah.
So my question is.
Yes.
In the paragraph on doing vegan, which
Yes.
I do, which is important to me, and I
Yes.
feel better doing it.
Absolutely.
It says you can, for any of the meats, you can substitute legumes.
Mhm.
Okay, what isn't clear is in what proportion.
Oh, gosh.
Because my chicken barley soup
Right.
was black-eyed pea barley,
Mhm.
casserole.
Mhm.
Because I think I got too many beans in there and absorbed all the water.
And then you just puree it and you
was
use it as a
tasty.
stock.
It
Yes.
was very tasty. So I just chunked it up and,
So I'm super terrible on the numbers piece of
Yeah.
it. So I don't know. I know, but I'd have to look it up. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, it's because if you asked me, you could ask me any number question. I don't know. How many hands is my horse? I'm not sure. is 14 or 17? Kelly?
17.
Okay.
16 and a half.
4s and 7s look totally the same to me, just so you know. So, but you know, on our community, do you have the cookbook? In the cookbook,
No.
the cookbook, there's a cheat sheet.
Not yet.
Kelly has the cookbook, you can go borrow her cookbook. There's a cheat
I
sheet.
will have
maybe
it
two
once
minutes.
KCET sends me my
Oh, yay!
subscription stuff.
Very cool. There's a, I love doing the public television stuff, because we don't, it's not a financial thing for us, you donate it 100%, right? So, it's a very cool thing, I love it. There's
So
a
the
cheat sheet in
cookbook
here.
will tell me.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you have the app?
Mhm.
The app will tell you, too, should give you the portion when you put it in there. But this has a super easy cheat sheet in it. This is my favorite cheat sheet of all.
Will the app, when you do the recipe,
So
tells
just
you-
put it in as an individual item. Just put a,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, and then factor that for how many servings the recipe makes. Oh,
Yep.
that's easy. Okay.
I have to use the app,
I do numbers.
but if you read, this is a good book to read, I've heard. Rumor has it. It was funny negotiating your contract with publishers. I'm with the first, these are Crown Random House, and this is HarperCollins. And when I'm saying, no, really, I need someone to read me, no, really. But they were all wonderful, fortunately. So I'm gonna answer a couple more questions and then go make some food at home. Yes?
Have you thought of, or have you written a book about animal, particularly horse nutrition, since you
I know.
have the background? with
I
animal
haven't.
husbandry?
I've formulated for a lot of different companies in the equine supplement and also in equine complete feeds. It's changed a lot and I'm really happy about it. It was very, very poor quality for a very long time. It was very hard to get stuff that didn't have a lot of, stuff that was kind of horrifying to feed an animal once you started assaying stuff. And especially, so I formulate, I only formulate for my own company. I do a little, Leilani rolls her eyes at me. I get suckered into a few things sometimes, usually over the pretenses of dinner at someone's house. I'm like, wait a minute, why are feed bags on the table? But now, and the reason why, and kind of if there's a company that I feel like does a great job, I won't formulate for myself because it's a big pain in the bahookie, quite frankly. But when you buy, like, let's say for example, you buy a B vitamin and you're purchasing the raw ingredients. So I have a multivitamin and I purchase my B12 out of Milan, Italy. And I purchased, because I'm methyltetrahydrofolate reductase homozygous genetically, which means I don't metabolize folic acid genetically. And I'm homozygous, which means I carry both genes. Just one more thing I should have turned myself in on the lemon law for. However, a lot of people, actually more people have that. If you hear MTFHR, it's a big thing where you can't metabolize folic acid, which inhibits methylation in the body, which can contribute to immune stuff and autoimmune stuff. So I get my B vitamins, my B12 out of Milan because I use a methylated, and I get my folic acid out of Spain. I also use a methylated. I use the methylcobalamin in those. I use my vegan-based powders I get out of Belgium because I use not a traditional pea, garden pea, but I use what they would consider almost like a chickpea base out of there, and I can then use a vegan taurine to balance that out into a complete protein so that it can be vegan but be a complete protein and not have a rice base. So in the animal industry, when you're purchasing raw ingredients, we compete as manufacturers for, you can spend 0.2 cents or you can spend 22 cents and it'll label the same. So I don't know why I didn't answer that question very well. I love that aspect of it, and I biohack my own crew, but it would be an interesting and fascinating thing to do for sure.
Can you do me a favor? In your,
Napkins?
in the book with the gray, the fast metabolism.
Yes.
There is a little paragraph, and that was an aha moment for me, since we're all horse people, about what type of horse you would like to be.
Yes.
And do you remember that
Yes,
about, do
the
you want to
race-
be, could you read just that?
I'll let you read it.
Oh my gosh.
I can't read. Anybody want to read it?
Well,
so we'll.
I can find it,
Okay.
but you can explain it to them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I definitely know it already, but.
So in a lot of the books, like this book says from the barn to the clinic, like a lot of it I relate a lot in the animal sciences and the agricultural sciences. I mean, first of all, because it just now, I mean, you know, like I said, I've been at this for, don't do numbers very well. How long have I been practicing?
Okay, I found it.
24 and a half years. So, you know, again, we didn't quite understand like we do in the animal industry. I mean, you know, Aggies, anybody that farms understands, you know, nutrition of soil, right? Definitely affects the quality of the plant. Everybody in any kind of agriculture industry understands the quality of feed affects the muscle and the marbling. I used to it was literally back in the wagon days. Now it's much more politically correct, but it was called Live Animal Dead Carcass Evaluation, was the course that I was in. We were all assigned an animal, and we had to create a feed ratio to raise the animal, and then it was humanely harvested. And we did tissue analysis to see how we could increase marbling, thickening of the fat. And so it's where I learned how to body hack, for lack of a better way to explain it. I get Oscar dresses and, you know, Emmy dresses for my clients. They send me what the dresses look like, and then I put them on a food base to decide whether we're going to show our arms or our waist or our cleavage or what. You know what I mean? So I use food to body hack, and I learned that in those kinds of classes, all in the agriculture piece. I know how to put a rump on a quarter horse like nobody's business, or a top line, as my horse trainer always said, you could put a top line on a mule. It's not my writing at all. So, I don't even remember what the question was.
What about the horses? So what kind of horse you want to be?
We marked it.
You want to read
You want me
it?
to read it?
I'm not reading it.
I can read it if you don't want
Oh, I don't mind.
to. Okay.
I just didn't know if we had time for me to read
Can
it.
you get up and turn around so we can all make
It's
sure?
just a paragraph.
Okay, what page are you at, Leilani? Are you anybody still there? Leilani is
Page
reading
8.
Page 8 of your Fast Metabolism Diet book.
All right, not a horse person, so. I love horses. I ride them, study them, and admire them. I also think they can teach us important things about the metabolism. Some horses are what we call easy keepers. They do just fine, even get fat on a small amount of food. Others we call feed-throughs. You can feed them, and they still have a hard time keeping their weight up. What's the difference? The horse's metabolism. In animal science, there is a concept called feed-to-grain conversion. How do you feed a steer for the best marbling, distribution of fat, highest grade and pricing of the meat? How do you feed a horse to optimize slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers?
We're like, oh, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, why didn't we get here first?
Making them faster out of the gate or have stamina for the long haul. Applying these principles to animals in both the livestock and the horse racing industries is a billion-dollar business. So why hasn't anybody been using the hard science we've gleaned from these animals and applied it to human weight gain and loss? It would be revolutionary. So that's exactly what I'm doing for you now. So which horse do you want to be? The chubby easy keeper or the slim and sleek feed through? Are you on your way to the Kentucky Derby? Are you going to put yourself out to pasture? Yeehaw.
All right, I'll take one more question and then, yes, absolutely.
So, you know, I'd love to lose weight, but something you said about sleeping. Okay, I for 20 years slept about 3 hours a night. That's all I ever need, and I'm fine on that.
So you're a good napper.
It's
It's all perspective. No, I'm just kidding. I always tell my husband, I took a great nap today. It was 3 hours.
But and I'm not tired, but and I'm an easy keeper too. So are some of us we just have a different metabolism? I mean, maybe that's just how we're built.
Absolutely, there's a genetic aspect to it for sure, but science is finally catching up to what they call epigenetics, right? Is the ability to turn on and turn off certain gene functions for sure. And so some people have a higher propensity towards all kinds of different autonomic nervous system things like sleep patterns, how the body metabolizes fat for fuel, how the body converts fat for fuel, where the body carries fat for sure. And so when we have an individual, whether it's 7,500 or one-on-one, we want to make sure that we're looking at what your body needs. So like if your top health wish was to focus on sleep, and there's a lot of things that we would do from a food perspective that would be different. Now, again, like from Kelly's perspective, she said I accidentally also lost 27 pounds. See, 2,700 pounds. I don't know my numbers, or 23 pounds, or whatever it was that she said. But that's because that's when her body started coming into homeostasis. That's where it chose to land, right? So we have individuals, like one of the individuals shared her story on public television, and it was interesting because when we talked at the kitchen, and she's open about it, she's talked about it in our community, so I feel comfortable talking about it. We cut it out of the show because it felt a little bit sensitive, was that she went to her first Weight Watchers meeting at 8 with her well-meaning, one of her well-meaning parents, but that's when she started her first kind of diet journey. And we looked at photographs where she was struggling with weight, from 8, 18, 28, 48, throughout her entire life. She's, had a really good success. Her body was just waiting for the right food to be able to burn through what she needed to burn through, and has done, really, really well. And so, we get a lot of people that it's not like I want to get back to my college weight, but I've never been, that. And it's not about the weight. It's about, sleeping deep, having abundance of energy, not living in pain. The other reason why I should turn myself into the live-in-law was I was in a near-fatal car accident and spent 3 years at the Brain Injury Recovery Center. I had 7 surgeries from here over and was diagnosed with what they call RSD, which is a nerve disorder. And I was like, I'm not going to live in pain, right? And so I am very strategic about eating to not have an imbalance in inflammation because brought on as my body's incredible response to surviving going head on with a semi at 65 miles an hour, right? So smart body, inflammation is a lifesaver, but it also, can be maddening when you're in pain. All it took was for them to tell me I'd never ride again. And I went, oh, watch me. Watch the back of me. So yeah, again, sleep is very important. Different bodies need different degrees of sleep.
I just was thinking, when you gave that invitation, you gave that example, gosh,
Yes.
you wake up, you've lost a lot of weight, well, I only sleep 3 hours a day, that would explain it.
Right. So we don't need you to diet, we need you to sleep. That's a really good point. So why can't we think of it the same way that we would if a person says, well, I run, I exercise all the time, that's why I keep my weight stable, right? Well, okay. We buy into that, but if a person says, I can't sleep, which then makes it difficult to lose weight, pull a scientist. We do this, there's this group of us that get together. It's a big kind of science geek out session, and it's like Eric Topgold from Scripps comes in, and Rudy Tanzi from Harvard comes in, and we all just sit around and talk about, did you ever think about the fact that you don't poop when you sleep? Things like that. That's where I think ponder. And we had this whole conversation about, sleep and the metabolism. The science is all there. Again, weigh yourself when you go to bed and weigh yourself when you wake up. It's like nobody's excising in the middle of the night fat cells. They're metabolizing.
Are some of us just mastiffs and others are, lipids?
We definitely all have different body types. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I love it. It's a great. No, absolutely. We all have, our cultural makeups, and that's also something that's really important too, is culturally to look at what foods your body will metabolize from a genetic perspective. There's science behind blood typing for your diet. There's science behind genotyping from a diet perspective, for sure. Yeah. Last question. That's okay, I guess. These guys want to go to bed. Just kidding.
I do.
Yeah, you're fine.
My
I can talk about food all day.
My husband bought a book about 10 years ago or so, and it was How to Eat for Your Own Blood Type.
Diadoma. Yep.
And when I looked up my blood type for the foods that I should not eat, when I was a small child, I wouldn't go near them, I wouldn't eat them.
So Peter Diadamo, his dad was a very fascinating scientist in my opinion. And Peter, the son, was a brilliant guy. And he took a lot of the research and kind of distilled it down to be, no pun intended, but very palatable. And so for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's Eat Right for Your Blood Type. And it's really fascinating. I mean, I find it very fascinating.
Amazing.
They then went on and did the phenotype diet, and they took into consideration long bone growth. You measure your head, you do litmus testing, you do testing. I'm spacing the name of the enzyme. You know how some people pee when they're asparagus peas, and or smells when he smells when you eat asparagus. Thank you. Some of you don't like cilantro, some of you do. There's certain enzymes that people produce. So in the phenotype diet, they kind of went super sciencey with it, and it didn't do very well. I find it fascinating myself. But yeah, it's a very interesting concept for sure. And I think with a lot of the D2C testing, the direct-to-consumer testing now, which we could get it, then we couldn't get it, now it's back federally. We can get it, all the 23andMe, your Viomes, all those direct-to-consumer testing now. You can test for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, superoxide dismutase, like all those things, genetic things that make you not metabolize efficiently for $89, and if you catch a special for $79. We literally have run those on clients, and they are minimally $7,500 to get started. Now you can get direct-to-consumer, and they're really good. But with that, I think we're going to look at the genetic aspect of our metabolism even more. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me to